If you are over 40 and you keep feeling stuck, whether that means stuck at work, stuck in old habits, or stuck in the same emotional loops, there is a reason for that. This feeling has nothing to do with a lack of discipline, and it has nothing to do with motivation. It also does not mean that there is something wrong with you. What is actually happening is that your brain is running an old pattern that it learned a long time ago, and it genuinely believes that this pattern is keeping you safe. I want to be clear about my role here. I am not speaking as a guru or as someone who has everything figured out. I am in the middle of redesigning my own life. And along the way, I have been uncovering patterns that I did not even realize were influencing my choices. I have been learning through neuroscience therapy, daily journaling, and by paying close attention to my own reactions. I share what I am learning so that if you feel stuck too, you can finally understand why this is happening without blaming yourself or forcing change before you are ready. When people talk about feeling stuck, it is often misunderstood. Being stuck is not the same as being lazy or unmotivated. For many people over 40, being stuck feels quiet rather than dramatic. It feels like competence without fulfillment. It feels like responsibility without excitement. It feels like stability without meaning. You are functioning, you are showing up, and you are doing what needs to be done, but something inside you knows that this life no longer fits the person you are becoming. That was my experience in my corporate job. I have been in the same role for 6 years, not because I could not do more and not because I lacked ability, but because I was unwilling to play the corporate politics game. Over time, that creates a subtle kind of stagnation. I am not failing, but I am not growing either. Nothing is obviously wrong, yet nothing feels truly right. This kind of quiet stagnation is what keeps many people trapped for years without fully realizing it. This feeling often becomes stronger after 40, and there is a neurological reason for that. As we get older, our brains become extremely efficient. They love patterns, predictability, and familiarity. That efficiency helps us manage responsibility and maintain stability, but it also creates resistance to change. At this stage of life, the brain prioritizes emotional safety over growth. It resists uncertainty more strongly than it did earlier in life and relies heavily on past experiences as shortcuts for decision making. When you think about changing jobs, starting a business, setting boundaries, or becoming a new version of yourself, your brain does not ask whether this change aligns with who you want to be. Instead, it asks whether this change feels familiar. If the answer is no, your nervous system reacts as if there is danger, even when there is no real threat. This reaction happens automatically and often before logic or reasoning has a chance to intervene. The body reacts before the rational brain gets a vote. This is why logic alone does not work when it comes to change. You can know that you want something different, and you can understand logically that change would improve your life and still feel frozen. This is not weakness, it is biology. Once you understand this, self-blame begins to dissolve. When I finally understood this, I realized that most of us are not stuck because of our circumstances. We are stuck because of a loop. I call this the stuck loop cycle, and understanding it changed how I saw my own behavior. The loop usually begins with a trigger. This trigger might be an idea, a moment of dissatisfaction, a conversation, curiosity, or even envy. For me, the trigger was the idea of building a side business and creating more freedom in my life. That single thought was enough to activate this cycle. The next stage of the loop is the emotional reaction. This is where anxiety often shows up. Because I live with generalized anxiety disorder, starting anything new immediately creates a physical response in my body. My chest tightens, my thoughts race, and there is a sense of danger, even when I am not actually in danger. This reaction is not a sign that something is wrong. It is the nervous system responding to uncertainty, not reality. After the emotional reaction comes retreat. The nervous system seeks relief from discomfort, and the fastest way to get relief is to retreat into what feels familiar. This might look like procrastination, distraction, scrolling on a phone, or staying exactly where you are. You tell yourself that you will deal with it later. This does not happen because you are lazy or incapable. It happens because your nervous system wants to feel safe again. Then comes the shame. This is often the most painful part of the loop. You judge yourself for not taking action. You compare yourself to others. You tell yourself that you should be further along by now. Over time, this shame becomes internalized and turns into identity. You begin to believe that you are simply someone who does not follow through. That belief strengthens the loop and makes it even harder to break. Finally, the cycle resets. Life goes on. Nothing changes. The next time a trigger appears, the loop runs again, often faster and with more intensity. Over time, years can pass this way, and change can start to feel impossible. It is important to understand that this loop is not your fault. Your nervous system is not broken, and it is not trying to sabotage your life. It is trying to protect you using outdated information. These patterns were learned during earlier periods of stress or uncertainty. They worked at one point in your life. They simply have not been updated yet. That means the solution is not more willpower or pressure. The solution is awareness. For me, breaking this loop began with therapy. I started therapy 3 years ago, not because I wanted to fix myself, but because I wanted to understand myself. Therapy helped me see where my anxiety came from, how my body responds to uncertainty, and why novelty feels threatening. Understanding replaced shame, and that alone created space for change. The second tool that helped me was daily journaling. Every day I write about what triggered me, what I felt in my body, what I avoided, and what one small step I can take. Journaling turns unconscious patterns into visible ones. You cannot change what you cannot see, and this practice made my patterns impossible to ignore. The third piece was something I call tiny, safe experiments. I did not quit my job or force confidence. I did not demand certainty from myself. Instead, I made very small moves. Sometimes that meant working on my side hustle for 10 minutes, even when I felt anxious. Sometimes it meant noticing anxiety without immediately obeying it. Each small action showed my nervous system that discomfort does not equal danger. This is how rewiring actually happens. It does not happen through dramatic moments or overnight transformation. It happens through consistent, gentle actions that show change can be safe. This process takes time, and that is not a flaw. While the brain may learn through insight, the nervous system learns through repetition. You do not break a pattern once. You gradually outgrow it. That slowness is not a sign that you are failing. It is a sign that your system is learning. If you have been feeling stuck for years, it does not mean that you missed your chance. It means that your brain has been protecting an old version of you. That version of you got you this far. Now it is time to update the system, not through pressure or force, but through awareness, patience, and consistent small actions. If you are over 40 and you are trying to rewire old patterns so that you can stop feeling stuck and move toward a life with more freedom, more time, and more meaning, this is the journey I am on as well. I will continue to share the frameworks, tools, and experiments that are helping me redesign my life without burning everything down. If that sounds like something you need right now, I invite you to subscribe and follow along. We will break the loop together.